Claire Morgan didn't slam the door. She didn't cry. She didn't hesitate. She walked into Leo Conti's private office like she belonged there, because she did, and placed a single folder on the dark wood desk in front of him. Leo looked up from his laptop, expression calm, posture perfect, suit immaculate. The kind of calm that had made men twice his size go quiet in rooms without anyone raising a voice. His eyes dropped to the folder, then to her hand, then to her face. "Claire," he said, like her name was a meeting he hadn't approved. She didn't sit. She didn't smile. "You're going to sign these," she said. Leo stared at her for a long second, as if the English language had suddenly changed the meaning of words. "What is that?" Claire's voice didn't shake. "Divorce papers." The air in the room turned heavy, not with drama, just with reality. Leo leaned back slowly, like he needed distance from the word. "No." Claire lifted her chin. "Yes." He blinked once, controlled. "You don't want a divorce." "I do." Her gaze stayed on his. "I've wanted it for a long time. I'm just finally saying it out loud." Leo's jaw tightened. It was the smallest movement, but Claire knew him well enough to feel it like a change in temperature. For 3 years, she had learned to read the man who stopped speaking with his heart. For 3 years, she had watched him walk past her like she was a vase on a table. Beautiful, expensive, and completely silent. Now she watched him look at her like she was a stranger who knew his secrets. "Why today?" he asked. Claire's laugh was quiet and sharp, more disbelief than humor. "Because it's Tuesday. Because I woke up and realized I don't want to waste another Wednesday." Leo's eyes narrowed. "That's not an answer." "It is for me." Behind Leo, the wall of windows showed Manhattan in gray daylight. Everything outside looked busy, alive, loud. Inside the office, it was too quiet. Leo's fingers rested on the desk near the folder. He didn't touch it yet. Like touching it would make it real. "You're serious," he said. Claire nodded once. "I've never been more serious." Leo's eyes moved over her, slow and automatic, like his body did it before his mind allowed it. Claire looked different, not in a dramatic makeover way, not in a new hair, new life cliché. She looked awake. Her coat was tailored. Her hair was smooth and loose over her shoulders. Her makeup was clean and light, but her eyes were steady in a way that made him feel like she could walk through fire without asking anyone to hold her hand. And that did something to him. He hated that it did something to him now, after years of doing nothing. "Sit," Leo said. Claire didn't move. "No." Leo's gaze sharpened. "Claire, I'm not here to be managed," she said, calm. "I'm here to be heard." For a moment, Leo didn't speak. The silence wasn't empty. It was filled with all the things they hadn't said for years. Leo finally reached out and pulled the folder closer. He opened it. Claire watched his eyes move across the first page, watched the small shift in his breathing when he saw the date. He was reading fast, but she knew he was absorbing every word. Across the room, the door opened quietly. Mason Reed stepped in with a tablet in his hand, walking like he owned the hallway, confidence big enough to wear like a coat, until he saw Claire. He stopped so suddenly his expensive shoes squeaked. "Oh," Mason said. Then, like he couldn't help himself, "Hi, Mrs. Kant." Claire's eyes flicked to him. Mason swallowed and corrected himself instantly. "Hi, Claire." Leo didn't look up. "Out." Mason held up the tablet like it was a shield. "I just need one signature for—" "Out," Leo repeated. Flat, final. Mason stared at the folder on the desk. His eyes widened. He mouthed silently at Claire. "Is that what I think it is?" Claire gave him a small, polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mason's face did something between panic and prayer. He backed toward the door slowly, like he was leaving a room with a sleeping tiger. I'll come back later. Or never. Whatever works," he whispered, and disappeared. The door clicked shut. Leo turned a page, then another. Claire stood still, hands relaxed at her sides. Like she wasn't asking the most powerful man she'd ever met to let her go. Leo finished reading and closed the folder. His voice was even. No. Claire's expression didn't change. You already said that. I'm saying it again. Leo's gaze lifted to her face. I'm not signing. Claire nodded, as if she expected that. Then I'll file without your signature. I'm not asking permission. I'm informing you. Leo's eyes went colder. You're my wife. Claire's lips pressed together. Then she exhaled slowly. That's exactly the problem, she said. I've been your wife in name only. Leo leaned forward slightly. That's not true. Claire's eyes flashed. Isn't it? She took one step closer to the desk. Not aggressive, just direct. When was the last time you had dinner with me? She asked. Leo's throat moved. He didn't answer. Claire didn't let him escape into silence. When was the last time you asked how my day was, and stayed long enough to hear the answer? Leo's hands tightened on the edge of the folder. Still controlled, still quiet. But something in him was shifting. Claire's voice stayed steady. When was the last time you touched me like you wanted me? That one landed. Leo's gaze locked on hers. His eyes were dark, sharp, and suddenly too honest. Claire felt it in her own body, her pulse reacting before her mind could stop it. Because even now, even after everything, she wasn't immune to him. Leo Conti didn't need to raise his voice to fill a room. He just needed to look at her, and for years he hadn't. Claire refused to be the woman who waited in empty rooms anymore. Leo spoke slowly. You know why? Claire's eyebrows lifted. Do I? Leo's jaw flexed. Don't do this. Claire tilted her head. Do what? Speak? Leo's eyes narrowed, a warning. Push me. Claire's smile was small and bitter. I tried not to push you for 3 years. Look where that got us. Leo stood. The movement was smooth, controlled, but it changed everything. He was tall, broad, close enough now that Claire could smell his cologne, clean, expensive, familiar. He came around the desk, stopping a few feet away. Look at me, he said. Claire already was. But something about the command made her spine straighten, like her body remembered what it used to feel like when he was present, when he was hers. I am looking, she said. Leo's voice dropped. Then you know I never stopped. Don't, Claire cut in, firm. Leo froze, eyes flashing. Don't what? Don't tell me you never stopped caring, she said, calm but sharp. Because I lived in the same house as you. I saw you stop. I felt you stop. I listened to you stop. Leo's hands clenched at his sides. You don't understand. Claire let out a soft breath. You always say that. Like I'm a child. Like I'm too delicate for the truth. Leo stepped closer. Claire didn't step back. For a second, they were close enough that a whisper would have felt like a touch. Leo's gaze lowered to her mouth. Claire felt heat rise in her chest. Annoyance and desire tangled together like they were laughing at her. Leo's voice was low. You were never delicate. Claire's eyes held his. Then why did you treat me like I couldn't handle you? Leo's jaw tightened again. He looked away for half a second, like the answer was on the wall. Then he looked back. Because loving you openly was dangerous. Claire's expression didn't soften. So you loved me quietly? Leo's eyes hardened. I did what I had to do. Claire nodded slowly, absorbing it. Then she said, That's the problem, Leo. You did what you had to do. You never asked what I needed. Silence. Leo's face stayed controlled, but his eyes betrayed him. He looked like a man who'd been punched without anyone raising a fist. Claire stepped back, creating space on purpose. I'm moving out, she said. Leo's head snapped slightly. No. Claire's voice stayed calm. I already did. Leo blinked. What? Claire's lips curved just slightly. Not triumphant, just done. My things are packed, she said. I signed a lease. My address will be on the filing. Leo's voice went quieter. You moved out without telling me. Claire's eyes stayed on his. You weren't listening. I stopped announcing myself to someone who acts like I'm invisible. Leo took a step forward. Claire lifted one hand. Not dramatic, just firm. Don't, she said again. Leo stopped, like her boundary was a wall. Claire's heart thumped hard against her ribs, because she wanted him to cross the room. She wanted him to grab her and say he was sorry and show her he was alive again. But she didn't want it if it was only panic. She wanted real. Leo's voice tightened. Where are you going? Claire's gaze didn't waver. Somewhere I can breathe. Leo's eyes flicked over her again, as if he was seeing the changes he missed, the strength he ignored, the woman he thought would always stay. You can breathe with me, he said. Claire's laugh was quiet, tired. No, Leo. I can survive with you. That's not the same. Leo's expression darkened. You think I wanted it like this? Claire's voice softened by a fraction, but her spine stayed straight. I don't know what you wanted. You never told me. Leo stepped closer again, slower this time, like he was trying not to scare her off. Claire, he said, and her name sounded different now, less like a meeting, more like a confession. Claire looked up at him. His eyes were intense, focused, and suddenly full of something that made her stomach twist. Regret. But regret wasn't enough. Sign the papers, she said. Leo's voice went low. No. Claire's tone stayed calm. Then I file. Leo's eyes flashed. You're not leaving me. Claire's breath caught. Not because she was afraid, but because the words landed in her body like heat. She hated that. She loved that. She refused to let it win. I already left, she said quietly. Leo stared at her for a long second. Then he said, You think I ignored you? Claire didn't answer, because she didn't need to. Leo's voice sharpened. You think I didn't notice you? Claire's eyes narrowed. Did you? Leo took one more step closer until Claire could feel his warmth. His gaze held hers like he was trying to make her believe something without words. I noticed everything, he said. Claire's throat tightened. Then why did you let me feel alone? Leo's jaw flexed again, and for the first time, his control looked like it was cracking. Not into anger, but into something harder. Honesty. He looked at her like he'd been holding a truth in his mouth for years, and it finally tasted too bitter to keep. You want the truth? He asked. Claire didn't blink. Yes. Leo's voice dropped. Then tell me this first. Claire's brows lifted slightly. What? Leo's eyes didn't move from her face. Who told you were alone? He asked. Claire froze. The question didn't make sense at first. Then it did. Because for 3 years she had felt ignored, but there were moments that didn't add up. Missing messages, phone calls that never rang. Notes she swore she left, never acknowledged. Conversations she thought happened somehow. Erased. Claire's mouth parted slightly. Leo watched her reaction with a stillness that felt dangerous. Not violent, not loud, but sharp. His voice was quiet. You think I didn't care, he said. But I need you to answer me, Claire. He leaned in just enough that his words brushed her skin. Who made you believe you were alone? He asked, and his eyes went colder in a way Claire had never seen directed at her. Claire's heartbeat turned heavy. Because suddenly, the divorce papers on the desk felt like the smallest part of the story. And Leo Conti was looking at her like he'd just realized their marriage wasn't only breaking, it had been touched by someone else. Leo's phone buzzed on the desk. He didn't look away from Claire. It buzzed again. Claire's eyes flicked to the screen, and her stomach tightened when she saw the name lighting up the display. Victor Hale. Leo's expression didn't change. But his voice went so quiet it felt like a warning meant for someone who wasn't in the room. Don't move, he told Claire. And before she could ask why, Leo reached for the phone, still watching her face like he was afraid the next 5 seconds would change everything. What did Victor Hale know about her marriage? And why was he calling right now? Leo didn't look at the screen again. He already knew that name shouldn't be calling right now. He answered on the first ring, voice flat. Victor. Claire stayed still, but every nerve in her body was awake. Leo had told her not to move, and the way he said it wasn't a threat, it was a signal. Like he was trying to keep her safe from something she couldn't see yet. Victor Hale's voice came through the speaker, smooth and confident. "Boss, I heard you had an unexpected visitor." Leo's eyes stayed on Claire's face. "How did you hear that?" A short pause. "Manhattan has ears." Leo's mouth didn't move into a smile, but something in his gaze sharpened. "My office doesn't." Victor chuckled softly, like this was a normal check-in. "I'm calling to make sure everything's stable." Claire's jaw tightened. Stable, like her marriage was a shipment. Leo's voice dropped a degree colder. "Nothing is stable when you're in my business." Victor didn't sound bothered. "With respect, boss, it's always been my job to—" Leo cut him off, calm and lethal, without raising his tone. "Your job is what I say it is. You'll be here in 30 minutes. Victor hesitated, just enough to be noticed. "Now?" Leo's eyes didn't leave Claire. "Now." The line went silent for a beat, then Victor answered carefully. "As you wish." Leo ended the call and placed the phone face down on the desk. Claire didn't miss the detail. Face down, like he didn't want her seeing anything else. She also didn't miss the way his shoulders stayed tense even after he hung up. "You told him to come here," she said. Leo nodded once. Claire kept her voice steady. "Why does he know anything about me walking into your office?" Leo's gaze held hers. "That's what I'm about to find out." Claire let out a slow breath through her nose. "Leo, I'm not doing mystery games anymore." His eyes softened for a second, just a second, then the hard control returned. "I'm not playing," he said. "I'm fixing." Claire's lips pressed together. Fixing would have been looking me in the eyes 3 years ago and saying, "Claire, something is wrong and I need you to trust me." Leo's jaw flexed. "I know." She took a small step back, reclaiming space. "I moved out. That part is done." Leo didn't move. "Where?" Claire's eyebrows lifted. "No." His gaze tightened. "Claire." "No," she repeated, calm. "You don't get to demand my address after ignoring my existence." Leo's nostrils flared once, controlled. "I didn't ignore you." Claire gave him a look that made even him pause. "You didn't look at me on our anniversary," she said. "You didn't touch my hand at your charity gala when everyone else's husbands were holding their wives like they were proud. You didn't ask where I went when I started spending weekends away." Leo's throat moved. "I noticed." "And you did nothing," Claire said, plain. "That's ignoring, Leo. You can rename it if you want. I'm not." Silence landed between them. Leo's voice finally lowered. "I didn't do nothing." Claire watched him, careful now. She hated that her heart still reacted when his voice sounded like this. Close, honest, rough at the edges. "What did you do?" she asked. Leo didn't answer right away. Instead, he took one slow step toward her and stopped at a respectful distance, like he was forcing himself not to touch her without permission. "Tell me one thing," he said. "Before you moved out, did you ever try to leave?" Claire froze so fast it felt like the air had changed. Leo's eyes narrowed slightly, not angry, focused. "Answer me." Her fingers curled at her sides. "Yes," but admitting it out loud made it real in a way she'd avoided for years. "I tried," she said quietly. Leo's expression didn't change, but his gaze darkened. "When?" Claire swallowed. "A year into all of this. I packed a bag. I called a car." Leo's voice went even lower. "And?" Claire exhaled. "The car never came." Leo's eyes stayed locked on her. "That's not a reason to stay." Claire's mouth turned tight. "I know." Leo took a breath, controlled. "What happened, Claire?" She hated how steady he looked right now, like he could handle any truth. But she was the one who had handled being alone. She lifted her chin. "Someone called me." Leo's eyes sharpened. "A private number," Claire continued. "A man." Calm voice. He said leaving wouldn't go well for me. That it would cause problems for people I cared about. Leo went still. Claire watched the muscles in his jaw shift like he was clenching down on something. "You never told me," he said. I didn't think you'd care, she answered, and then her voice tightened. And if you did care, I didn't think you'd choose me over your world. Leo's eyes held hers, intense and quiet. I always chose you. Claire's laugh came out soft and bitter. You chose silence. Leo didn't argue. That scared her more than anger would have, because he looked like a man realizing he had been blind in his own house. The door to the office opened again, this time without Mason's nervous humor. Victor Hale stepped in, perfectly dressed, polite smile in place, hair neat, posture straight. He looked like the kind of man who would shake your hand and make you think you were safe. Claire's stomach tightened. Victor's eyes flicked to her, then back to Leo. Boss? Leo didn't offer a seat. Close the door. Victor did. Leo's voice stayed calm. How did you know she was here? Victor's smile barely shifted. I didn't. I assumed. Leo's gaze didn't soften. That's a lie. Victor held his hands open slightly, almost friendly. If you want me to say I keep the household informed, I do. It's called security. Claire's head tilted. Security doesn't include my marriage. Victor's eyes moved to her, smooth as glass. Mrs. Conti, not for long, Claire said. Victor's smile tightened by a hair. I'm sorry you feel that way. Leo's tone hardened. Stop talking to her like she's a mood you need to manage. Answer me. Victor's polite expression stayed on, but his eyes went colder. There are people who watch you, boss. If your wife walks into your office out of nowhere with divorce papers, I need to be ahead of it. Leo's jaw flexed. Ahead of it or controlling it? Victor didn't flinch. I've protected you for years. Claire's voice cut in, calm but sharp. Did you protect me too, Victor? Victor looked at her like she'd asked something silly. Of course. Claire's eyes didn't blink. Then explain my missing messages. Victor's expression didn't change, but the pause was half a second too long. Leo caught it. Claire caught it too. Leo's voice went quiet. What messages? Claire looked at Leo and her chest tightened because this was the first time she'd seen him look genuinely confused, not defensive. Not distant, just not informed. I sent you messages, she said to Leo. So many. For years. Some you never answered, and I told myself you didn't want to. But last night I looked at my phone and I realized something. Leo's gaze stayed on her face. What? My read receipts, Claire said. They didn't show, not once. Leo's eyes went sharp. That's impossible. Claire swallowed. That's what I thought. Leo turned to Victor slowly. Explain. Victor's voice stayed smooth. Technical issues happen. Phones. Leo cut him off, quiet and final. Wrong answer. Victor's smile faded a fraction. Boss? Leo stepped closer, not threatening with fists, threatening with certainty. Did you interfere with my wife's messages? Victor held Leo's gaze. I did what I thought was necessary to keep you focused. Claire's blood ran cold. Leo's expression didn't explode. It didn't turn wild. It turned still. That's not your decision, Leo said. Victor's voice stayed controlled. Your marriage was a vulnerability. Claire felt something snap inside her. Not rage, not tears, just clarity. So you decided I could be lonely, she said quietly. Because it was easier for you. Victor didn't look guilty. He looked practical. Lonely is better than endangered. Leo's voice dropped. You threatened her. Victor didn't blink. I protected the structure. Claire's fingers curled. You called me from a private number. Victor's silence was confirmation without words. Leo's eyes went colder than Claire had ever seen. You stood in my home, Leo said, calm as ice. Looked at my wife and chose to scare her. Victor's tone stayed even. I prevented chaos. Leo leaned in slightly, voice quiet enough that it felt private even with Claire there. You created it. Claire's heart pounded, but not from fear of violence. Fear of what this meant. Of how much of her life had been arranged like a schedule she never agreed to. Leo straightened and stepped back, gaze still locked on Victor. "You're done." Victor's expression tightened. "Boss, think." Leo didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. "You are done." Victor's jaw flexed. "You're making an emotional decision." Leo's eyes flashed. "No, I'm making a clean one." Victor looked at Claire, and for the first time, something like annoyance surfaced. "This is because of her." Leo's voice went dangerous in its calm. "This is because of you." Victor held Leo's gaze for a long second, then nodded once like he was accepting a ruling from a judge he didn't respect. "As you wish," Victor said again, and walked toward the door. Before he opened it, he turned his head slightly. "If she leaves you, boss, don't say I didn't warn you." Leo didn't answer. Victor left. The door closed. Silence returned, but it wasn't the same silence as before. Claire stared at Leo, breathing slow, chest tight. He stood there like a man who had just realized his own home had been compromised by someone he trusted. Claire's voice came out quieter than she intended. "You didn't know." Leo looked at her. "No." Claire's throat burned. "So you really thought—" Leo stepped closer, stopping the moment he saw her stiffen. His voice softened. "I thought you were choosing to be quiet." Claire's eyes shined, but she didn't let a tear fall. "I was choosing to survive." Leo's face shifted, the regret so obvious it made her angry. "Why didn't you come to me?" he asked. Claire gave him a look that said the answer should have been obvious. "Because when I did, you were never there." Leo swallowed. For a second, he looked like he wanted to touch her face. He didn't. "Tell me what you need," he said. Claire's laugh came out small, exhausted. "I needed a husband 3 years ago." Leo's eyes held hers. "You still have one." Claire's voice tightened. "Barely." Leo took a slow breath, then reached into his inner jacket pocket and pulled out something small and simple, a thin envelope. He held it out, not forcing it into her hands. Claire didn't take it yet. "What is that?" Leo's voice stayed calm. "A key." Claire stared. Leo continued. Simple words, no speech. "Your apartment. I had Mason find the building from the lease company name. I didn't go inside. I didn't ask your landlord questions. I just made sure I could get to you if you needed me." Claire's eyes narrowed. "You found me." "I didn't send anyone to watch you," Leo said immediately. "I didn't step into your space. I didn't even ride the elevator." Claire held his gaze. "Then why do you have a key?" Leo's voice lowered. "Because I'm done being absent." Claire's breath caught. Her body reacted again, heat sliding through her chest in a way she didn't want to admit. But she didn't soften. "Keys aren't the same as trust," she said. Leo nodded once. "I know." Claire finally reached out and took the envelope. Slow, careful, like she was handling something fragile that could cut her if she held it wrong. Her fingers brushed his. The touch was brief, accidental, and it still sent a jolt through both of them. Leo's eyes dropped to her hand, then lifted back to her face, and his voice went lower. "I missed you." Claire's throat tightened. "You were standing in front of me the whole time." Leo's jaw flexed. "I know." Claire looked away for a second, blinking hard. She didn't want to cry in his office. Not now. Not when she had finally reclaimed control. She turned back. "I'm still filing." Leo didn't argue. He just said, "Then let me earn my way back before the court ends us." Claire stared at him, suspicious. "Earn." Leo nodded. "Not buy. Not control. Earn." Claire exhaled slowly. "And how do you plan to do that, Leo?" His voice stayed steady. "One day at a time. Starting tonight." Claire's eyebrows lifted slightly. "Tonight." Leo reached for his phone, flipped it face up, and held it where she could see it, transparent on purpose. "No private calls," he said. "No filters. No people between us." He tapped the screen, opened his calendar. Mason had filled it with blocks and codes and meetings that looked like a different language. Leo swiped, cleared one, then another, then a third. Claire watched, stunned. Leo looked up. Dinner. You choose the place. Claire's chest tightened. Why would I give you dinner? Leo's gaze didn't waver. Because you deserve to look at me across a table and decide if I'm still your husband, or just a mistake you're finally correcting. Claire's mouth parted slightly. The words were simple, but they landed hard because they were honest. She hated that she wanted him right now. She hated that she could still feel his presence like gravity. She forced her voice to stay calm. One dinner doesn't fix 3 years. I know, Leo said. That's why it's only a start. Claire stared at him for a long moment. Then she said, one dinner. Leo's eyes sharpened with something that looked like relief, carefully controlled. Claire lifted one finger. But you answer my questions. Leo nodded. All of them. Claire's voice went quiet. And you don't touch me unless I ask. Leo's jaw flexed, but he nodded again. Understood. Claire turned toward the door, ready to leave before her emotions betrayed her. Leo's phone buzzed in his hand. Claire didn't mean to look, but the screen lit up right in front of her. A message preview flashed across the top. From Victor Hale. She shouldn't be alone. I handled it before. Don't make me handle it again. Claire stopped walking. Her blood turned cold. Leo's eyes lifted to hers at the exact same time, and in that moment Claire realized something terrifyingly simple. Victor Hale wasn't done with her marriage. He was still inside it. And Leo Conti had just shown her his phone, without realizing it would reveal a threat that wasn't supposed to exist. Claire didn't breathe until she was out of the office, standing in the hallway where the air felt less heavy. Leo followed her, close enough to be present, far enough to show he remembered her boundary. He didn't grab her arm. He didn't block her path. He just walked beside her, eyes fixed on the message that still glowed in his mind like a warning he couldn't erase. Claire held the elevator call button down harder than she needed to. Leo watched her finger. You saw it. Claire didn't look at him. You showed it to me. I didn't know he'd be stupid enough to write it, Leo said. The elevator dinged. The doors slid open. Claire stepped in first. Leo stepped in after her, not too close, shoulders squared, calm face. Except his eyes weren't calm anymore. They were focused. The doors closed, cutting the hallway away. Claire stared at the changing numbers like they could steady her heart. Leo's voice stayed low. He said, I handled it before. Claire's throat tightened. That's what I read. Leo's jaw flexed. Tell me exactly what handled it means. Claire swallowed. The private number, the call, the warning. Leo's hands tightened at his sides. He didn't yell. He didn't swear. But the silence that followed felt dangerous in a different way, like he was making decisions in his head that would change people's lives. Claire didn't want to be a reason for chaos. She just wanted peace. You promised, she reminded him, voice steady. No people between us, no controlling, no threats. Leo looked at her. I can't promise to do nothing when someone threatens you. Claire's eyes narrowed. I didn't ask you to do nothing. I asked you to stop treating my life like a project. The elevator reached the lobby. The doors opened. Leo stepped out first, scanning automatically, then glanced back at her like he was checking in without words. Claire hated that part of her, liked it. The part that remembered what it felt like to be protected without being reduced. They walked through the marble lobby in silence. Outside, the city moved like it always did. People hurried. Taxis honked. Life kept going. Claire reached the curb and lifted her hand for a cab. Leo didn't stop her. Dinner still stands. Claire's laugh came out tight. After that message? Especially after that message, Leo said. Claire turned her head slightly. Because you want to keep me where you can see me. Leo didn't deny it. He simply said, because I want to earn your trust where you can see me. A cab pulled up. Claire opened the door and paused, not getting in yet. You can't erase 3 years with one dinner. I'm not trying to erase it, Leo said. I'm trying to face it. Claire stared at him. Leo's voice softened just enough to feel real. Pick the place, not mine. Claire hesitated. Then she named a place without thinking too much, because it was neutral, public, and familiar to her. Stonewell, she said. West Village. Leo nodded once. 8. Claire slipped into the cab before her heart could change its mind. The moment the door shut, she watched him through the window. Leo didn't wave. He didn't chase the cab. He just stood there with that stillness that made him feel like a storm holding itself back. And Claire hated that a part of her wanted to run back and touch his face and ask him why he let them die while they were still alive. She leaned her head back against the seat and closed her eyes. Stonewell at 8. One dinner, one start, or one final proof that she was right to leave. At 7:58, Claire walked into Stonewell wearing a simple black dress that fit her like she'd chosen it for herself, not for anyone else. Clean lines, bare shoulders, a small gold necklace, hair down. She didn't choose it to tempt Leo, but she knew it would. Because the truth was messy. She wanted him to want her. She just didn't want him to win her with hunger alone. Stonewell was warm and modern, with soft lighting and dark wood, the kind of place where people talked quietly and laughed like they didn't have heavy secrets. Claire gave her name at the host stand. The host smiled. Right this way. As she walked, she felt eyes flick toward her, then away. Not because she was famous, because she looked like a woman who belonged anywhere. They reached a corner table, and Leo was already there. He stood the moment he saw her. Not dramatic, not showy. Just respectful. Claire stopped for half a second because something in her chest tightened. He looked good, that was the problem. He looked like the man she married. Tailored suit, crisp white shirt, no tie, collar open just enough to feel personal. His hair was neat, his watch caught the light, and his eyes. His eyes locked on her like he'd been starving, and only now realized he'd been the one refusing food. Claire slid into the chair. Leo didn't sit right away. He waited until she settled, then sat across from her. A waiter arrived with water. Leo didn't order for her. He didn't speak for her. Claire noticed every small thing. She hated that she noticed. When the waiter left, Leo's gaze held hers. Thank you for coming. Claire nodded once. It's one dinner. I know, Leo said. I'm not pretending it's more. Claire studied him. Are you going to talk, or are you going to look at me like that until I forget why I'm angry? Leo's mouth almost curved. Almost. I deserve the anger. Claire's eyes narrowed. That's not an answer. Leo leaned back slightly, hands visible on the table. I'm going to talk. Claire lifted her chin. Good. Leo's phone buzzed. Claire's eyes flicked to it before she could stop herself. Leo didn't hide it. He glanced at the screen and slid the phone face down again without replying. Claire's voice went flat. Victor? Leo nodded once. Yes. Claire's stomach twisted. He's not stopping. Leo's voice stayed steady. No. Claire held Leo's gaze. And you're still calm. Leo's eyes sharpened. I'm calm because I don't want you to feel fear at this table. Claire scoffed softly. You should have wanted that 3 years ago. Leo's jaw tightened. I did. Claire didn't let him escape into that. Then explain the ignoring. Leo didn't flinch. He didn't deny it. He simply said, I handled it wrong. Claire blinked. The directness caught her off guard. Leo continued, voice low and controlled. I thought distance would keep you safe. Claire's brows lifted. Distance from your own wife? Leo's gaze didn't waver. From attention, from leverage, from people who watched me. Claire's laugh was sharp. People watched you anyway. Leo nodded once. Yes. Then what did it accomplish? Claire asked. Leo's eyes held hers. It made you lonely. It broke us. It gave Victor space to do things I didn't know he was doing. Claire's throat tightened at the way he said her loneliness out loud, like it mattered. The waiter returned to take their order. Claire ordered a simple dish. Leo ordered after her. No changes, no special treatment. When the waiter left, Claire leaned forward slightly. Tell me about the messages. Leo's gaze sharpened. Mason spent all afternoon digging into it. Claire's eyes narrowed. Digging how? Leo adjusted, careful. He checked records from my side. He checked my phone history. He found gaps. Not mistakes. Gaps. Claire's chest tightened. Leo continued. Messages that should have come through didn't. Calls that should have shown up didn't. Claire's fingers curled lightly around her water glass. So you didn't just ignore them? Leo shook his head once. No. Claire swallowed hard. And you never wondered why I stopped trying? Leo's eyes flicked down for a fraction, then back up. I did. I thought you were punishing me. Claire let out a breath that sounded like disbelief. Punishing you? Leo nodded. I thought you were saying, fine. If you're distant, I'll be distant too. Claire's voice tightened. I was begging you. Even when I stopped texting, I was begging you with silence. Leo's expression shifted. Regret, sharp and real. I know. Claire stared at him, and for a second, the anger wobbled. Not because it disappeared, because she saw what she'd wanted to see for years. A man actually listening. Where was that version of you? She asked quietly. Leo's voice went lower. Buried under stupid decisions and the wrong advisor. Claire's eyes narrowed. So Victor is the villain and you're the victim. Leo's gaze stayed steady. I'm not a victim. I'm responsible. I let him close. I trusted him. I didn't check him. I didn't protect you from him. That's on me. Claire's throat tightened again. Leo watched her, and the way he watched felt different from before. Not controlling, not cold. Like he was trying to understand her instead of managing her. Claire forced herself to stay firm. You can admit guilt and still not be my husband. I know, Leo said. That's why I'm not asking you to forgive me tonight. Claire's eyebrows lifted. You're not. Leo shook his head once. I'm asking you to tell me what you need. Claire's lips parted, then closed again. The honest answer came too fast. I need you to want me, and choose me, and hold me like you're proud. But she didn't say that. She said something safer. I need truth, she said. All of it. Leo nodded. You'll have it. Claire's eyes narrowed. Starting with why Victor is so obsessed with my marriage. Leo's gaze turned hard. Because you're my weak spot. Claire scoffed. You didn't act like it. Leo's voice went quiet. That was the lie I sold to the world. Claire stared at him. He didn't dress it up. He didn't make it pretty. I convinced everyone you didn't matter, Leo said, and the words sounded like they hurt him to say. Including you. Claire's chest tightened so hard she almost couldn't breathe. The waiter arrived with food, breaking the intensity. Claire stared at her plate like it could anchor her. Leo didn't push. He started eating like a normal person, not like a man negotiating a treaty. Claire ate too, and it felt strange, sitting across from him like this, like they were just a couple on a date. Like they hadn't been ghosts in a mansion. Halfway through dinner, Claire's phone buzzed. She glanced down. A text from an unknown number. Enjoying your dinner? He still won't save you. He never did. Claire's fingers went cold. Her gaze flicked up to Leo. Leo saw her face change immediately. He didn't ask what was wrong like someone clueless. He asked like someone present. Show me, he said. Claire hesitated. She didn't want to hand him her phone. She'd spent years feeling like she had to protect her own space. But she also didn't want to be alone in this again. She slid the phone across the table. Leo read the message. His expression went still. Then he lifted his eyes to hers. He's in the room. Claire's stomach dropped. What? Leo didn't look around wildly. He kept his face calm, voice low. Victor doesn't text like that. This is someone else. Someone who thinks they're clever. Someone close enough to know you're here. Claire's breathing turned shallow. How would they know? Leo's eyes sharpened. Because someone watched you leave my building, or someone watched me come here, or someone is watching right now. Claire's fingers gripped her napkin. Leo. Leo lifted a hand slightly, not to stop her, to steady her. No panic, he said. Look at me. Claire looked at him. His voice went softer. You're safe. She didn't fully believe it, but her body reacted to his steadiness anyway. Leo picked up his phone and typed one message, quick and simple. Then he placed it back down. Claire swallowed. "Who did you text?" Leo didn't hide it. "Mason." Claire's eyebrows lifted. "Your assistant?" Leo's mouth almost curved. "He's annoying, but he's loyal, and he listens." Claire's lips pressed together, despite herself. "What did you tell him?" Leo's gaze stayed on her. "To come here, and to bring two people I trust who can blend in. No drama." Claire's breath caught. "So now you're surrounding me." Leo shook his head once. "No. I'm keeping threats away from your table." Claire stared at him. His tone didn't beg. It didn't command. It offered. "You can leave," Leo said. "Right now. I won't stop you." Claire's throat tightened. "And if I leave, he wins." Leo's eyes held hers. "If you leave, you choose your peace. That's not losing." Claire swallowed hard. Then she did something that surprised even her. She stayed. Leo didn't touch her. But the way he looked at her, like he saw her strength, like he respected it, made something warm flicker in her chest. Minutes later, a man walked past their table, slowed slightly, and glanced at Claire's phone on the table. Leo noticed. Claire noticed Leo notice. Leo didn't move. He didn't react. The man kept walking. Then Mason Reed appeared near the bar, wearing a casual jacket like he was just another guy meeting friends after work. Mason spotted Leo, then Claire, then did a small face like he was trying not to faint. He walked up and leaned slightly toward Leo. Mason spoke quietly, but his expression was loud. "This is not in my job description." Leo spoke without looking away from Claire. "Did you find him?" Mason nodded. "Two options. One, the creepy guy in the gray sweater who keeps looking at her phone like it owes him money." Claire's eyes widened a fraction. Mason continued. "Two, the woman at the corner bar who pretends she's scrolling but hasn't taken a sip of her drink in 10 minutes. I tested it. I coughed near her." Claire blinked. "You coughed?" Mason gave her a serious nod. "It's a technique." Leo's mouth twitched. "Which one is texting?" Mason lifted his hand slightly. "The gray sweater. He's holding a second phone under the table like he thinks no one can see it." Claire's stomach dropped. Leo didn't stand. He didn't cause a scene. He simply looked at Claire and asked, "Do you want to leave or do you want to watch me handle this clean?" Claire swallowed. Her pulse thumped hard. She wanted to run, but she also wanted for once to see Leo show up in real time. "Clean," she said. Leo nodded. He raised his hand slightly. One of Mason's blending people, just a normal-looking man in a sweater, walked past the gray sweater guy, dropped something near his feet, and apologized as he bent down. In that moment, the normal-looking man glanced at the phone in the gray sweater guy's hand. Then he kept walking. No drama. No yelling. Leo leaned in slightly, voice soft to Claire. "Now we know his face." Claire's breath was tight. "What now?" Leo's eyes held hers. "Now we find out who sent him." Claire stared at Leo across the table, food forgotten, heart pounding. She expected him to look angry. Instead, he looked determined. And somehow, that was worse. Because it meant he wasn't going to let this go. Not this time. Claire's phone buzzed again. Another unknown text came in, short and sharp. "If you want the truth about why he ignored you, meet me alone tomorrow." Claire's hand shook as she stared at the words. Leo's gaze dropped to the screen. Then he lifted his eyes back to her, quiet, focused, and suddenly too intense. "Tomorrow," Leo said softly. "You won't be alone." Claire didn't sleep much. Not because she was afraid someone would break in. Not because she thought she'd see shadows in the hallway. Because her mind wouldn't stop replaying one line. "Meet me alone tomorrow." She hated how that single word, alone, still pressed on her like a bruise. In the morning, she stood in her apartment kitchen, barefoot on cool tile, coffee in her hands, staring at nothing. Her apartment was beautiful and quiet, modern, clean, hers. And still, her chest felt tight. Her phone buzzed. A message from Leo. Good morning. I'm outside. I won't come up unless you ask. Claire stared at it longer than she should have. Then she replied, Come up. 2 minutes later, there was a knock. Not aggressive, not impatient. Claire opened the door. Leo stood there holding a small bakery bag and 2 coffees like a man trying to learn how to be normal. He looked at her bare feet, her loose sweater, her hair slightly messy. His gaze softened in a way that made her stomach flip. Morning, he said. Claire stepped aside. You're early. Leo walked in slowly, eyes scanning like habit, then stopping himself. He exhaled once like he remembered. This was her space now. I brought breakfast, he said, holding the bag out. I asked Mason what you like. Claire's eyebrows lifted, and he knew. Leo's mouth twitched. He made a spreadsheet. Claire blinked. A what? Leo corrected instantly. A list. He made a list. Claire's laugh surprised her. It was small but real. Leo watched her laugh like it mattered more than any business deal he'd ever closed. Claire took the bag. What did he pick? Leo's tone went dry. Everything. Claire peeked inside and found 2 things she hadn't had in years because no one remembered she loved them. Cinnamon twists and small lemon pastries. Her throat tightened. Leo didn't gloat. He didn't act proud. He just said quietly, I should have remembered myself. Claire swallowed. Yes. Leo's gaze held hers. I'm trying to be the man who remembers. Claire turned away before her face could betray her. They ate at her kitchen island, the morning light soft across the counter. Leo didn't talk too much. He didn't fill the silence with speeches. He asked simple questions. How did you sleep? What do you have today? Do you feel safe here? Claire answered carefully. Then she asked, Do you think I should meet whoever texted me? Leo's jaw tightened. No. Claire's eyes narrowed. That wasn't my question. Leo exhaled. I think they want to separate you from me so they can control the story. Claire's voice stayed calm. And if they're telling the truth? Leo's gaze sharpened. If there's truth, you'll get it without walking into a trap alone. Claire held his gaze. So you'll come? Leo nodded once. If you want me there. Claire's pulse jumped at the way he said it. Not as a demand, as a choice. Claire looked down at her coffee. I don't want your men there. Leo's tone stayed steady. Then there won't be a crowd. Just me and Mason, somewhere far enough that he can't interrupt with coughing techniques. Claire snorted softly. Leo watched her, and his voice lowered. Claire. She looked up. Leo's eyes held hers with a seriousness that made her stomach twist. I'm sorry. Claire's throat tightened. You already said you handled it wrong. Leo nodded. I did, but I need you to hear it clearly. He leaned forward slightly, not invading, just closer. I'm sorry I made you feel unwanted, he said. I'm sorry I made you feel invisible in your own home. I'm sorry you learned to live without me while I was standing 10 feet away. Claire's eyes stung. She kept her voice steady. And why did you do it? Leo's jaw flexed. Because I believed the wrong person. Because I thought I could control risk by controlling distance. And because I thought I could carry it alone. Claire's voice went quiet. You carried it alone and it still reached me. Leo nodded. Yes. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was heavy with everything she wanted to ask and everything she feared to hear. Claire's phone buzzed again. A location, a time. 12:30, Riverside Park, bench by the boathouse. Claire's fingers tightened around the phone. Leo read it from her face. That's public. Claire nodded. So they want me exposed. Leo's voice went low. Or they want to watch how you react. Claire swallowed. I'm going. Leo didn't argue. He just said, I'm coming. Claire's eyes narrowed. Not behind me, not hiding. Leo nodded. Beside you, if you allow it. Claire looked at him for a long second. Then she said, beside. Leo's expression softened. Relief contained inside control. Right then, the intercom buzzed. Claire frowned. She rarely got visitors. She pressed the button. Hello? A voice came through, polite, bright. Claire Morgan? Delivery. Claire's chest tightened. I didn't order anything. Signature required, the voice said. Leo's gaze sharpened. Claire looked at him. I'm not expecting a package. Leo's voice stayed calm, but his eyes went cold. Don't open the door. Claire hesitated, then nodded. Leo walked to the door, not rushing, not panicking, and checked the peephole. His expression didn't change, but his voice went lower. No uniform, no company logo. Claire's stomach dropped. Leo stepped back from the door and pulled out his phone. He typed one message. Then he looked at Claire. Go to your bedroom. Claire's eyes narrowed. No, I'm not hiding in my own apartment. Leo's gaze held hers. Then stand behind the island where you can see the door, but you're not in front of it. Claire swallowed, then moved, angry at herself for obeying, but also aware this wasn't control. This was caution. The intercom buzzed again. Ma'am, the voice said, a little less bright. I have your package. Claire's voice stayed calm. Leave it at the desk. It requires signature, the voice insisted. Leo leaned in and pressed the intercom button himself. Leave. The silence on the other end lasted a beat too long. Then the voice changed. Not polite anymore. Tell him to stop interfering, it said. Claire's blood went cold. Leo didn't blink. Who are you? The voice didn't answer. Instead, it said one thing, soft, almost amused. He's not the only one with keys. Then the line went dead. Claire stood frozen, heart pounding. Leo looked at her with a calm that felt like a hand on her back. You're okay, he said. Claire's voice came out tight. That sounded like Victor. Leo's jaw flexed. It might be someone working with him, or someone he hired. Claire's throat tightened. So he's still coming at me? Leo's eyes held hers. Not without me in front of it now. Claire wanted to say she didn't need him. But her body betrayed her. Because in that moment, hearing him say now made something inside her loosen. Not fully, but enough to feel dangerous. At 12:30, they walked through Riverside Park side by side. Leo didn't hold her hand. He didn't touch her waist. He gave her space and stayed close enough that she could feel him without feeling owned. The bench by the boathouse was empty. Claire's heart hammered. Leo leaned slightly toward her. If this feels wrong, we leave. Claire's jaw set. I want answers. They waited. 2 minutes. 5. Then a man approached. Not gray sweater from last night. A different one. Mid-30s, clean haircut, casual jacket, phone in hand, eyes sharp. He stopped a few feet away and looked at Leo with a small, arrogant smile. You weren't invited, the man said. Claire's chest tightened. Leo's voice stayed calm. She's not alone anymore. The man's gaze shifted to Claire, then back to Leo. That's adorable. Claire forced her voice to stay steady. Who are you? The man held up his phone. Someone who can tell you the truth. Leo's gaze turned hard. Talk. The man smirked. Not here. Too many ears. Claire's jaw tightened. You picked the location. The man shrugged. Plans change. Claire's pulse hammered. Say it. The man's eyes flicked to Leo again. He ignored you because he thought you betrayed him. Claire froze. Leo didn't move. The man continued, enjoying the tension. 3 years ago, information leaked. Something private. Something that hit a rival and cost him money. The story told was simple. His wife was close enough to hear things. Close enough to share. Claire's breath turned shallow. That's a lie. The man's smile widened. Is it? Claire turned to Leo, searching his face. Leo's eyes didn't flinch, but the stillness told her enough. It wasn't the truth, but it was a story someone had fed him. Claire's voice went tight. Did you believe that? Leo's jaw flexed. I didn't want to. The man chuckled. He did, and Victor made sure he did. Claire's stomach twisted. Victor did this. The man nodded. Victor gave him proof. A recording, a message trail, something that looked real. Claire's chest burned. Why didn't you ask me? Leo's voice went low. I should have. The man stepped closer, eyes on Claire now. You want to know the worst part? Claire's fingers curled. Say it. The man smiled like he was proud of his poison. Victor didn't just block messages. He built a story that made you look like a threat in Leo's world. That way, he could keep Leo cold and keep you quiet. Claire's throat tightened. Leo's eyes went colder than she'd ever seen. Who are you? The man's smile faded. Doesn't matter. Leo's voice stayed quiet. It does. The man shrugged. Call me a messenger. Claire's voice shook slightly, and she hated it. If Victor made me look guilty, why would he do that? The man's gaze slid over Leo, then back to Claire. Because if Leo keeps you close, he's human. He's distracted. He's soft. Leo's jaw clenched. The man stepped back, satisfied. You wanted truth. That's the truth. If you stay in a story Victor wrote. If you leave with your dignity. Claire's pulse pounded. How do I know you're not lying? The man's eyes narrowed. Because you already felt it. You lived it. He turned and walked away. Leo didn't chase him. He didn't need to. Because Claire wasn't looking at the man anymore. She was looking at Leo. At the calm face that now held something raw underneath. Claire's voice came out quiet and sharp. So, you believed I betrayed you? Leo's throat moved. I believed someone wanted me to believe it. Claire's eyes stung. And you punished me anyway. Leo's gaze held hers. Yes. Claire's chest tightened like she couldn't breathe. She stepped back, creating distance. Leo didn't follow. He simply said softly, Claire. She shook her head. Don't touch me. Leo's face stayed controlled, but his eyes looked like they were bleeding regret. Claire forced her voice steady. 3 years, Leo. You let 3 years happen because you didn't trust me enough to ask me one question. Leo swallowed. I know. Claire turned away, heart pounding, anger and hurt twisting together. Then her phone buzzed again. A new text. He still won't tell you the whole truth. Ask him about the night you almost left. Claire's blood went cold. She stared at the screen, then slowly lifted her eyes to Leo. Leo's gaze locked onto her phone, then her face, and Claire realized the almost left night was bigger than she'd thought, because Leo looked like he knew exactly what that text meant, and he looked like he'd been avoiding it for a reason. Claire didn't sit down. They were back in her apartment, the door closed behind them, the city noise muted, the air too quiet for what she felt inside her chest. Leo stood a few feet away, hands relaxed at his sides, posture controlled, but his eyes were different now, darker, heavier, like he was carrying something he didn't want to set down. Claire held her phone up. Explain. Leo didn't ask what she meant. He already knew. Claire's voice shook slightly, and she hated that it did. Ask him about the night you almost left, she read. What does that mean, Leo? Leo exhaled slowly. It means I knew. Claire froze. You knew. Leo nodded once. Claire's throat tightened. You knew I packed a bag. Yes. Claire's voice went sharp. And you still did nothing. Leo's jaw flexed. I did something. Claire's eyes narrowed. What? Leo's gaze held hers, and his voice lowered like he was stepping into a truth he'd avoided. I stopped you. Claire went still. Her stomach turned. Stop me how? She asked. Leo didn't move closer. He didn't try to soften it with touch. He just said it clean. I had your car canceled. Claire's blood went cold. You... Leo's voice tightened. I didn't do it to trap you. I did it because I got a call. Claire's breath turned shallow. From who? Leo's eyes sharpened. From someone who said if you left that night you wouldn't make it to the next morning. Claire stared at him. Her mind tried to reject it because it was too much. Too wrong. Claire's voice went quiet. So you chose to keep me in a house where you ignored me. To keep me alive. Leo's jaw clenched. Yes. Claire's eyes stung. She forced herself to stay steady. Why didn't you tell me? Leo's voice was low and raw. Because I was afraid you'd leave anyway. Claire's laugh came out broken. So you treated me like a prisoner. Leo flinched at that word, just a little. I treated you like a secret I didn't want anyone to touch. Claire shook her head. That's still not love. Leo's gaze held hers. No, it was fear. Claire swallowed hard, emotions punching at her ribs. And Victor, she said. Where does Victor fit into this? Leo's face turned colder. Victor knew about the threat. Claire's eyes widened. How? Leo's voice stayed calm. Because he brought it to me. He told me the safest way to protect you was to make you look unimportant. Claire's breath caught. So he coached you. Leo nodded once. Yes. Claire's chest tightened. And you listened? Leo's jaw flexed. Yes. Claire's voice went flat. So the man who protected you ruined your marriage. Leo didn't argue. Yes. Silence. Claire stared at him, trying to reconcile the past 3 years with this new information. She wanted to scream. She wanted to cry. But she didn't want to fall apart in front of him like she used to. So what was the leak story? She asked, voice tight. That man in the park said you thought I betrayed you. Leo's gaze dipped for a fraction, then lifted again. Victor handed me something. He said it proved you were talking. Claire's eyes narrowed. Was it real? Leo's voice went low. No. Claire's throat tightened. How do you know? Leo exhaled slowly. Because today I saw where it came from. He pulled his phone out and slid it onto the counter, turning the screen toward her. A photo. A document. A simple header. Audio transcript. Claire Morgan. Claire's stomach turned. That's not mine. Leo's voice went cold. It was written by Victor's assistant, not yours. Claire stared at it, breath tight. Leo continued. Victor didn't just block messages. He manufactured distance. He manufactured suspicion. He manufactured a reason for me to be cold, so I'd accept being cold as necessary. Claire's voice went quiet. And the threat, the one that night, was it real? Leo's jaw flexed. I thought it was. Claire's eyes narrowed. Do you still think it is? Leo didn't answer right away. Then he said carefully, I think Victor made sure I believed it was. Claire's blood ran cold. So my entire marriage, Claire said slowly, was managed by Victor Hale. Leo's voice was quiet. Yes. Claire's chest tightened like she couldn't breathe. Then anger surged back, clean and sharp. And you, she said, eyes locked on Leo. Let him. Leo didn't deny it. Yes. Claire stared at him. His honesty didn't erase the pain, but it made it harder to hate him. Because hate required the other person to not care. Leo cared now. Claire's voice went quieter. So, what do you want? Leo's gaze held hers. You. Claire's throat tightened. Not as a possession. Leo nodded. Not as a possession. Claire swallowed hard. Then what? Leo's voice was steady. As my partner. As my equal. As the woman I should have chosen loudly from the beginning. Claire's eyes stung again. She looked away, blinking hard, then looked back. You want me back? She said. Then prove you can be different. Leo didn't hesitate. Tell me how. Claire's heart pounded. She could ask for anything, money, property, power. But none of that fixed the thing that hurt. I want freedom, she said. Leo nodded. You have it. Claire's eyes sharpened. Real freedom. Not, you can go out as long as I know where you are. Leo's jaw flexed. Understood. Claire took a breath. I want respect in public and private. I want you to stop hiding me like I'm a risk. Leo nodded. Done. Claire's voice tightened. And I want a clean separation from anyone who interfered. Leo's eyes went cold. Victor is already gone. Claire lifted her chin. Not just gone. Removed from my life completely. No calls. No messages. No people showing up at my door pretending to deliver packages. Leo's gaze sharpened. I'll handle it. Claire's eyes narrowed. Handle it how? Leo didn't dodge. with legal papers, not fear, restraining orders, reports, clean steps. Claire exhaled, surprised. Leo continued, "And if you want, I'll sit with you in front of an attorney and you can write every boundary into a document that protects you." Claire stared at him. That sounded like something a husband should have offered years ago, not a boss. "Okay," Claire said, voice quiet. Leo's eyes held hers. "Okay." Claire's heart hammered. "But that's not all." Leo waited. Claire's voice turned steadier. "You ignored me for 3 years. You don't get intimacy from me because you're suddenly sorry." Leo's jaw flexed, but he nodded. "I understand." Claire swallowed. "If we restart, it's slow, with honesty, with time, with you showing up." Leo's voice went low. "I will." Claire stared at him, then said the hardest part. "And if you can't," she said, "then you sign the divorce without making it a war." Leo's gaze held hers. "I won't make it a war." Claire's chest tightened. "Then here's my condition." Leo didn't blink. "Name it." Claire took a breath. "Tomorrow we go to the lawyer. Together. You sign a separation agreement that guarantees my independence and my safety, whether we reconcile or not." Leo nodded once. "Yes." Claire's heart pounded harder. "And then, you tell everyone who matters that you were wrong to sideline me, that you're fixing it, out loud." Leo's eyes sharpened. "Public." Claire nodded. "Public." Leo exhaled slowly. "Okay." Claire's throat tightened. "If you do that, I will pause the divorce filing." Leo's gaze held hers like she'd just handed him oxygen. Then his phone buzzed. Claire flinched automatically. Leo picked it up, read it, and his face went still. He turned the screen toward Claire. A message from an unknown number. Same style, same tone. "Nice conditions. Too bad you won't get to keep them. Check your mailbox." Claire's stomach dropped. Leo's voice went low. "Don't move." Claire's eyes narrowed. "I'm not hiding." Leo's gaze held hers. "Then we do it together." They walked into the hallway. Claire's mailbox was slightly open. That wasn't normal. Her heart pounded as she pulled it open fully. Inside was a single envelope. No stamp. No name. Just 3 words written neatly on the front. "Read alone, Claire." Her hands trembled. Leo's voice was quiet. "Give it to me." Claire's jaw set. "No, it's mine." Leo didn't fight her. He just said, "Steady. Then open it here, with me." Claire swallowed hard. She tore it open. Inside was one photograph. A photo of her taken this morning in her kitchen, barefoot, holding coffee, looking at her phone. Claire's blood turned cold, because the angle was wrong, too close, too intimate. Someone had been near enough to see inside her home. At the bottom of the photo, a message was printed in clean letters. "You can't pause what's already in motion." Claire didn't let the photo fall. She held it like it weighed 1,000 pounds, staring at her own image in her own kitchen the moment she thought she was alone. Her voice came out tight. "How?" Leo's gaze locked onto the photo, then onto the hallway around them. His face stayed calm, but his eyes had that sharp focus again, like he was measuring every detail. "I don't know yet," he said, "but I will." Claire swallowed hard. Someone was inside. Leo shook his head once, controlled. Or someone had a line of sight. Claire's eyes narrowed. "My windows don't face the street." Leo's jaw flexed. "Then it's someone closer than street level." Claire's stomach twisted. Leo's voice stayed steady. "Come inside." Claire didn't move. Leo didn't touch her. He simply held her gaze. "Please." Claire's breath caught at the word. Please, not command, not control. A request. She turned and walked back into her apartment. Leo followed. The first thing he did wasn't to patrol like a guard. It was to look at her. "You said no hiding," he said quietly. "So I'm not going to hide what I'm about to do." Claire's throat tightened. "What are you about to do?" Leo's eyes stayed on hers. "I'm about to make a public move." Claire blinked. "Public." Leo nodded. "Victor and whoever is backing him has been comfortable because they thought I'd keep this private to protect reputation." I'm done protecting reputation. Claire's heart pounded. You're going to announce our problems. Leo's voice stayed low. I'm going to announce my priority. Claire stared at him. Leo pulled out his phone and made one call. Get the boardroom ready, he said. All senior staff and the legal team. 30 minutes. He ended the call. Claire's voice went quiet. You're doing this now. Leo nodded. Now. Claire swallowed hard. And me. Leo's gaze softened. You're coming with me, not as a prop, as my wife if you're comfortable, or as Claire Morgan if you prefer. Claire's pulse thumped. He was giving her the choice. She didn't know how to respond to that anymore. I'm not dressing up for your meeting, she said, trying to keep her voice firm. Leo's mouth twitched slightly. Good. Show up as yourself. Claire stared at him. Then she went to her bedroom, changed into a sleek cream blazer and fitted jeans, hair still loose. Simple. Strong. Hers. When she came out, Leo's gaze held hers for a long second. Slow, heated, full of things he wasn't saying. Claire's voice went tight. Don't. Leo exhaled slowly. I didn't touch you. Claire swallowed. You looked. Leo's eyes stayed on her. I missed looking. Claire's chest tightened. Then she walked past him, grabbed her bag, and said, Let's go. The Conti building's boardroom was glass and stone and quiet power. Claire walked in beside Leo and felt every gaze turn toward them. She didn't flinch, because if this was her condition, public respect, she was going to take it. Mason stood near the screen, holding a folder like his life depended on paper. He spotted Claire and whispered, Hi. You look like you could fire all of us with one eyebrow. Claire couldn't help it. She smiled slightly. Mason looked relieved, like he'd just survived a storm. Leo didn't sit at the head of the table immediately. He stood. He waited until the room settled. Then he did something Claire never expected. He turned to her first. Not the executives. Not the lawyers. Her. Are you okay? He asked quietly. Claire nodded once. Do it. Leo's gaze held hers for half a beat. Then he turned to the room. My wife has been targeted, Leo said, voice calm and clear. The room went still. Mason blinked like he forgot to breathe. Leo continued. There have been threats. Interference. Someone tried to isolate her and manage my marriage like it was a security issue. A few people shifted uncomfortably. Leo's eyes scanned the table, steady and cold. That ends today. He didn't shout. He didn't slam the table. He simply said the next line like it was law. Victor Hale is permanently removed from any role, access, or influence in my organization. A lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Conti. Leo lifted one hand. The lawyer stopped. Leo continued. Any contact with Claire Morgan, direct or indirect, will be treated as harassment and handled through legal action. Claire's chest tightened at hearing her name spoken like that. Clear. Firm. Respected. Leo turned slightly toward her, then back to the room. I also want something else on record. He paused. Every eye stayed on him. Leo's voice didn't soften, but something in it turned personal. I failed her. Claire's pulse jumped. Leo continued. For 3 years, I let distance exist in my marriage. Some of it was fear, some of it was pride. All of it was wrong. The room was silent. Leo said plainly, Claire isn't a liability. She's my wife. She's my partner. And if anyone in this room thinks her voice doesn't matter, you can leave now. No one moved. Mason, however, looked like he might cry. Leo nodded once. Good. He gestured to the legal team. Present the documents. A lawyer slid papers forward. Restraining orders, filings, clean steps. Not drama, not threats. Rules. Leo turned to Claire. This is the part where you decide. Claire stared at the papers, her condition, her independence, her safety, written down. She took the pen and signed the first page with a steady hand. Not because she was surrendering, because she was claiming something she should have had all along. Leo signed after her. Then he looked at the room again. That's it, he said. Meeting over. People stood quietly, as if they'd just witnessed something rare. Leo Conti choosing love over image. As the room emptied, Mason lingered. He stepped closer to Claire, voice low. "I just want you to know, I'm sorry." Claire blinked. "You didn't do it." Mason's face twisted. "I didn't stop it either. And I saw how quiet the house got." Claire swallowed hard. Mason looked at Leo and then back at Claire. "Also, for the record, I'm terrified of you in the best way." Claire let out a short laugh despite herself. Leo's gaze flicked to Mason. "Go." Mason nodded quickly and walked out like the floor was lava. Claire stood there with Leo in the now empty boardroom. Glass walls, city outside, quiet inside. Leo turned to her slowly. "I did what you asked." Claire's chest tightened. "You did." Leo's voice lowered. "Does that pause the divorce?" Claire didn't answer right away, because her mind was at war with her body. Her body wanted him, close, warm, safe. Her mind wanted proof that it would last. She finally said, "It pauses it." Leo exhaled, a small release he didn't try to hide. "Thank you." Claire's eyebrows lifted. "Don't thank me. You earned one step." Leo nodded once. One step. They stood in silence for a beat. Then Leo's voice dropped. "Come home." Claire's chest tightened. "Home is my apartment now." Leo's gaze held hers. "Then let me come to your home." Claire swallowed. Her heart pounded. She didn't say yes right away. She simply said, "No touching unless I ask." Leo's jaw flexed. "Understood." They drove to her apartment in quiet. Not cold quiet, careful quiet. In her living room, Claire set her bag down. Leo stood near the doorway, like he didn't want to take space he hadn't earned. Claire looked at him. He looked back. For a second, neither spoke. Then Claire said, "Sit." Leo sat on the edge of the sofa like he didn't know what to do with comfort anymore. Claire walked to the kitchen, poured 2 glasses of water, hands slightly unsteady. When she came back, Leo's gaze followed her, slow, heated, full of restraint. Claire handed him a glass. Their fingers brushed. Leo's breath caught. Claire felt it. She set her glass down and sat on the other end of the couch, leaving space between them. Leo didn't close it. Claire's voice went quiet. 3 years is a long time. Leo nodded once. "I know." Claire swallowed. "I still feel things." Leo's gaze held hers, intense. "So do I." Claire's pulse jumped. She forced herself to stay steady. "Feelings aren't enough." Leo's voice stayed low. "No." Claire stared at him, then asked the question that scared her. "Do you want me?" she said quietly. "Or do you want to win?" Leo didn't hesitate. "I want you." Claire's throat tightened. "Then why does it feel like you're suddenly perfect?" Leo's mouth twitched, not a smile, something honest. "I'm not perfect. I'm terrified." Claire blinked. Leo continued, "Terrified you'll decide this is too late. Terrified you'll look at me and only remember emptiness. Terrified I'll reach for you and you'll flinch." Claire's breath caught. He wasn't performing. He was admitting. Claire's voice softened slightly. "I do flinch." Leo nodded. "I know." Silence. Claire's fingers tightened around her glass. "Come closer." Leo froze for half a second. Then he moved, slow, careful, closing only part of the space. He stopped and looked at her, asking without words. Claire's voice came out quiet. "Closer." Leo moved again, stopping when his knee was inches from hers. He didn't touch her. He just looked at her like he'd been waiting for permission for years. Claire's heart pounded. She lifted her hand and placed it on his cheek. Leo went still, breath catching, eyes dark. Claire felt the warmth of his skin, the roughness of his jaw, the small tremble he tried to hide. "Leo," she whispered. He leaned into her touch like it was water and he'd been thirsty too long. Claire's voice shook slightly. "Don't make me regret this." Leo's eyes held hers. "I won't." Claire swallowed hard. "Kiss me." Leo didn't move instantly. He waited one beat. watching her face, making sure. Then he leaned in and kissed her softly, slow, controlled, like he was trying to rebuild trust with his mouth. Claire's breath caught. The kiss wasn't wild. It was warm. It was careful. It was real. Claire's fingers slid into his hair. Leo's hand hovered near her waist, hovered, then stopped, waiting. Claire nodded slightly. Leo's hand settled against her side, light pressure, respectful. Claire felt desire flare through her body, sharp and familiar. She pulled back just enough to look at him. Leo's eyes were dark, mouth slightly parted, breathing heavier. Claire whispered, "This doesn't erase anything." Leo's voice was rough. "I know." Claire swallowed. "But it makes me remember why I stayed so long." Leo's gaze softened. "I'll make you glad you stayed." Claire's heart pounded. Then his phone buzzed. Claire froze instantly. Leo didn't reach for it. He looked at her instead. "Do you want me to check?" Claire's throat tightened. "Yes." Leo picked it up, read the screen, and his expression turned still. He turned it toward her. A notification from the building's security desk. Unidentified individual asked for access to Claire Morgan's floor. Name given, Victor Hale. Claire's blood ran cold. Leo's voice went low. "He's here." Claire's body went tight like a wire. Leo didn't move fast. He didn't rush to the door like a man chasing drama. He stood and faced her, voice calm, eyes locked on hers. "Tell me what you want," he said. "Right now." Claire swallowed. Her heartbeat hammered. "Is he alone?" she asked. Leo glanced at the message again. The desk didn't say. Claire's voice went tight. "I don't want him near me." Leo nodded once. "He won't be." Claire's throat tightened. "I don't want you to threaten him either." Leo's gaze held hers. "Then I won't threaten him. I'll remove him." Claire blinked. "Remove." Leo's voice stayed steady. "With the law, with witnesses, with cameras. Clean." Claire swallowed hard and nodded once. "Okay." Leo looked at her like he was taking instructions from the only person who mattered. "Stay here. Lock the bedroom door. Or come with me and stand behind me. Your choice." Claire's chest tightened. She refused to hide like she used to. "I'm coming," she said. Leo nodded once. "Behind me." They walked out into the hallway together. Leo kept his body between her and the elevator area without making it look dramatic. Just natural. When they reached the lobby, the front desk staff looked tense. And there he was. Victor Hale. Perfect suit. Perfect hair. Perfect calm face like he belonged anywhere. Victor's eyes flicked to Claire, then to Leo. His mouth formed a polite smile. "Boss?" Leo didn't answer the greeting. He stepped forward, voice quiet and clear. "You're trespassing." Victor's smile didn't change. "I'm here to talk." Claire's stomach tightened. Leo's gaze stayed cold. "Not with her." Victor's eye slid to Claire again, smooth as oil. "Claire, I just want you to understand something." Claire's jaw set. "I understand plenty." Victor's smile tightened. "Do you?" Leo spoke over him, calm and final. "Security." Two building security staff walked over immediately, not intimidating, just present. Victor's expression sharpened. "This is unnecessary." Leo's voice didn't rise. "You threatened my wife. You interfered with her communication. You attempted access to her home. This is beyond unnecessary. It's done." Victor's eyes flicked to Claire. "He's playing hero now. Don't fall for it." Claire's blood boiled, but she kept her voice steady. "You're the one who played puppet master." Victor's smile faded for the first time. "You were protected." Claire took a step forward, then stopped, because Leo's hand lifted slightly, reminding her, behind him. Claire exhaled slowly. "You protected yourself. You wanted control. You wanted him cold." Victor's jaw flexed. "Because cold keeps him alive." Leo's eyes turned sharper. "Enough." He looked at the security staff. "Remove him." Victor's calm mask cracked. "You think this fixes it?" You think the 3 years disappear because you said sorry in a boardroom? Leo didn't react like Victor wanted. He simply said, "No, I think I'll spend the rest of my life proving I can do better." Victor's eyes flicked to Claire, anger flashing now. "He'll fail. He always does." Claire's chest tightened. Then she did something she didn't expect from herself. She stepped out from behind Leo, just enough to be seen. Her voice came out clear. "He might fail, but he won't fail alone anymore." Victor stared at her. Claire's chin lifted. "I'm not your project. I'm not your story. I'm not your leverage." Victor's mouth tightened. "You think you're safe?" Claire's eyes held his. "I think you're finished." Security guided Victor toward the door. Victor didn't fight them physically. He fought with words, with looks, with poison. As he passed Leo, he leaned slightly, voice low. "You'll regret choosing her," Victor murmured. Leo didn't blink. "I regret not choosing her sooner." Victor's eyes narrowed. Then he was gone, the glass doors closing behind him like a clean cut. Claire stood in the lobby, heart pounding, hands trembling slightly. Leo turned to her immediately. Not to celebrate, not to claim victory, to check on her. "Are you okay?" he asked, voice quiet. Claire nodded, swallowing hard. "I think so." Leo's gaze softened. "Do you want to go upstairs?" Claire's chest tightened. "Yes." They rode the elevator in silence. Not cold, just full. In her apartment, Claire locked the door behind them. Then she leaned back against it, breathing out like she'd been holding her breath for years. Leo stood a few feet away, waiting. Claire looked at him. His suit jacket was still perfect, but his eyes weren't. They were honest, tired, regretful, devoted. Claire's voice came out quiet. "I'm shaking." Leo nodded once. "I know." Claire swallowed. "Come here." Leo froze for half a second like he couldn't believe he'd heard it. Then he walked to her slowly. Claire lifted her arms. Leo stepped in and wrapped her gently, careful at first, then tighter when she leaned into him. Claire pressed her face into his chest, breathing him in. Warm fabric. Clean cologne, familiar heartbeat. Leo's hand slid up her back, slow and soothing. "I've got you," he murmured. Claire's throat tightened. "You didn't for 3 years." Leo's voice went rough. "I know." Claire pulled back just enough to look at him. "So prove it now." Leo's eyes held hers. "How?" Claire swallowed hard. "Be here. Tonight. Tomorrow. When it's boring. When it's hard. When there's nothing dramatic happening." Leo nodded once. "I will." Claire's voice softened. "And don't punish me for being strong." Leo's gaze sharpened, sincere. "I love that you're strong." Claire's breath caught, because that was what she needed to hear. Not that he needed her, that he respected her. Claire's fingers slid to his collar, tugging him closer. Leo didn't rush. He waited. Claire whispered, "Kiss me again." Leo kissed her like he'd learned something in the last few days, something he should have known years ago. Slow, warm, patient. Claire melted into it, and the desire she'd tried to bury came back like it had never left. Leo's hand slid to her waist, gentle pressure, pulling her closer without forcing anything. Claire's body responded instantly. She pulled back slightly, breath shaky. "No more disappearing." Leo's voice was low. "Never again." Claire swallowed. "Then come with me." She took his hand and led him toward the bedroom. Leo followed, eyes dark, breathing heavier, but still controlled, still respectful. Inside, the room was simple, clean, quiet. Claire turned to him, heart pounding. "Lights." Leo reached back and turned the lamp on. Soft light, warm and calm. Claire stepped closer, fingers tracing his jaw. "You look older." Leo's mouth twitched faintly. "So do you." Claire's eyebrows lifted. "I do?" Leo's gaze moved over her slowly, openly. "You look like a woman who stopped waiting." Claire's chest tightened. "I did." Leo's voice went rough. "I hate that I caused it." Claire's fingers tightened on his shirt. Then fix what you can. Leo nodded once. Tell me what you want. Claire didn't play games. I want you, she said, voice quiet. I want you to be my husband again, but I want it on my terms too. Leo's eyes held hers. Name them. Claire took a breath. No secrecy, no silent punishments, no letting other people touch our marriage. Leo nodded. Yes. Claire's voice softened slightly. And when you're afraid, you say it. You don't freeze me out. Leo swallowed. Yes. Claire stared at him. Do you promise? Leo's voice was steady. I promise. Claire's throat tightened. Then she kissed him again. Deeper this time, her hands sliding under his jacket, feeling warmth and strength under the fabric. Leo's arms wrapped around her, pulling her close, his mouth moving with hers like he'd been holding back too long. Claire felt his restraint break into tenderness, not into control. He kissed her neck, slow, making her gasp softly, and she pressed her hands into his shoulders like she needed the anchor. Leo's voice was rough near her ear. Tell me if you want me to stop. Claire's breath came out shaky. Don't stop. Leo's hands moved gently, always checking, always waiting for her response. Claire let herself feel it, the heat, the closeness, the way her body remembered him even when her heart tried to protect itself. They moved together toward the bed, shedding layers slowly, like they were rebuilding a trust brick by brick. When Leo finally lay beside her, he didn't take. He held her, skin against skin, warm and steady, kissing her forehead, her cheek, her mouth, like he was making a quiet vow with every touch. Claire closed her eyes and let herself breathe. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel alone. Later, when the room was still and her heart had slowed, Claire lay against Leo's chest, listening to his breathing. Leo's fingers traced slow lines on her arm, calming, present. Claire's voice came out soft. Tomorrow. Leo's gaze dropped to her face. The lawyer. Claire nodded. The agreement. Leo's voice was steady. We'll do it. Claire swallowed. And the divorce filing. Leo didn't flinch. If you still want it after we sign your protection and independence, I'll sign. Claire stared at him. He meant it. Her chest tightened. She whispered, I don't know what I want yet. Leo kissed her hair gently. Then we take it one day at a time. Claire's throat tightened. You really mean that? Leo's voice went low. Claire, I don't want you trapped. I want you choosing. Claire closed her eyes. Choosing. That word felt like air. The next morning, they sat in a bright law office with clean windows and neutral furniture. Claire signed the agreement first. Independence, privacy, boundaries, safety. Leo signed without hesitation. The attorney cleared his throat. And regarding the divorce filing, Claire's phone buzzed. She glanced down. An email notification from an unknown address. Subject line, 3 years of truth. Her chest tightened. She opened it. Attached were images, screenshots of messages she'd sent Leo for years. But underneath each one was a stamp. Blocked. Claire's throat tightened. Then another attachment, a scanned letter. Her name on it, her handwriting. No, not hers. A forged note making it look like she'd confessed to leaking information. Claire's blood turned cold. She lifted her eyes to Leo. Leo's face went still, then hard. The attorney frowned. Is everything all right? Claire's voice came out tight. This is what happened. Leo's gaze stayed on the screen. This is Victor's work. Claire swallowed hard. So the whole reason you pulled away, Leo's jaw clenched, was built on a lie. Claire's hands shook slightly. Then the attorney spoke carefully. Do you want to proceed with filing today, Ms. Morgan? Claire stared at the papers in front of her. She could end it right now. Walk away clean, no more fear, no more mess. But then she looked at Leo, not the boss, the man who had stood in a boardroom and admitted he failed her, the man who had asked permission to kiss her, the man who signed her freedom before asking for her love. Claire's voice came out quiet. No. The attorney blinked. No? Claire shook her head slowly, breath trembling. Not today. Leo's eyes locked on hers, careful, not hopeful in a way that pressured her. Just present. Claire swallowed. I'm not saying never. I'm saying I'm giving us time. Leo's throat moved. Thank you. Claire's eyes stung. Don't waste it. Leo's voice was steady. I won't. Claire exhaled slowly and looked back at the attorney. We paused the filing. The attorney nodded. Understood. Claire stood, legs slightly shaky. Leo stood too. As they walked out, Mason called Leo's phone. Leo answered, eyes still on Claire. Talk. Mason sounded out of breath. We found the guy from Riverside Park. He's cooperating. He admitted Victor paid him to lure her alone. Claire's stomach turned. Leo's voice stayed calm. Good. Send it to legal. Mason exhaled. Also, small update. Victor is trying to leave the country. Claire's heart pounded. Leo's eyes went cold. He won't. He ended the call and looked at Claire. Claire's voice came out quiet. Is this going to get worse? Leo stepped closer, not touching, just close enough that she could feel him. His voice was steady. No, because I'm not hiding anymore. Claire swallowed hard, then she nodded once. Okay. Leo's eyes softened. Okay. 6 months later, Claire stood in the Conti mansion's kitchen in bare feet again, by choice this time, not because she was waiting for a life to happen. The house wasn't silent anymore. It smelled like coffee and warm pastries, and something simple that felt like home. Leo walked in wearing a plain sweater and jeans, hair slightly messy, holding a small paper bag. Claire lifted an eyebrow. What's that? Leo's mouth curved into a real smile. I remembered. He pulled out cinnamon twists and lemon pastries. Claire's throat tightened. He stepped closer and kissed her cheek. Soft, familiar, easy. Claire leaned into him. You're learning. Leo wrapped an arm around her waist, gentle and warm. I'm practicing. Claire turned her head slightly. Practicing what? Leo looked at her like the answer was obvious now. Being the man who chooses you out loud, he said. Claire's eyes softened. She slid her hand into his and squeezed once. Good, she said, because I'm choosing you too. Leo's gaze held hers, steady and full. Then his phone buzzed on the counter. Leo didn't reach for it immediately. He looked at Claire first. Do you want me to check? Claire smiled slightly. After breakfast. Leo's mouth curved. After breakfast. And as he pulled her closer, Claire realized the best part wasn't that he regretted losing her. It was that he finally understood how to keep her, without ever taking her freedom again. But when the phone buzzed a second time, and the name on the screen flashed, unknown number, Claire's smile faded just slightly. Because even in a happy ending, life always tried to test what you'd rebuilt. And this time, Claire and Leo would face it together.